V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. We're today powered by Island City Media Group. We are featuring here on Island City Radio on the Coach V Show, brother Ce Yip, who has gone through some challenges and now has paid full price for his mistakes and his breaking of crimes or committing of crimes and breaking of the law, and has come out on the other side, which is an amazing story. He has a great story for his success and his experiences that will be deployed to you here on the Coach V Show for you to consider any value in any of the things that Brother C and I will be talking about, that you subscribe to it and deploy it all over your life, leadership, and business. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. That's my time for today. Now check out the Coach V Show after a word from our sponsor.
My Free Pharmacy is the future of pharmacy today. We are a membership-based pharmacy headquartered in Ohio, and we ship door-to-door for your monthly prescription. My Free Pharmacy offers 91% of the most prescribed generic medications in the U.S. 87% of all prescriptions in America are filled with generic medication. At My Free Pharmacy, we are laser-focused on delivering medications Americans actually use. For a monthly subscription of $19.95 for individuals or $29.95 for households, we can ship all your generic medication with no shipping costs. Call us for a free analysis on how we can save your company or organization up to 40 to 60%. Sign up today at myfreepharmacy.com/join and get your generic prescriptions free with a paid monthly membership. Visit myfreepharmacy.com/join and start saving today.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life, offering for your consideration success frameworks, behavioral models, and life lessons that, should you find value in them, that you subscribe and deploy it all over your life, leadership, as business. Broadcast and powered by Dash Radio Studios and powered by the Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. Today, I am so humbled and honored to have the opportunity to really feature one of the bad boys here in Sacramento that now has become an example for so many people out there, Mr. Ce Yip, who is currently a husband and a father of 3 and a motivational speaker. Ce was born and raised in Sacramento, California, and is a son of immigrant parents from China and Hong Kong. He grew up in Sevi Circle, where eventually his father was able to work hard and save up enough to purchase their own home around Freeport Manor. Ce is one of 5 sons, the middle child, and with parents both trying to survive and make it in the U.S., Ce most times was left to figure out things on his own. This in turn led to activities in a life of crime that ultimately came to a halt at 16 years old when he was charged with a crime as an adult, which led to his incarceration. From there, he served time in youth authority and then transferred to DVI prison, Jamestown prison, and eventually to Folsom State Prison, and finished off 8 years of his life. During those challenging times, he was disowned by his parents and his friends disappeared. Ce made a vow to himself that once released, he would turn his life around and change for the better. Ce celebrated 20 years of freedom and his anniversary of June of this year, commemorating his release from prison in 20 years prior, in 2002. Since then, he has been married to his wife, Joy, for 19 years and is the father of 3 beautiful children. He committed to a life of volunteer work and giving back to the community by speaking to the youth and adults, from group homes, juvenile halls, to middle schools, and then high schools and college classrooms. Ce has done all that it takes to build a life worth living. He has a long-standing career in the retail industry and has a life he used to only dream about. Ce and his wife continue to do endless philanthropy work in the community and strive to do whatever it takes to support, empower, and inspire those who need to get on the right track. His life goal is to help others find that fire within themselves to create the life they love and a life worth living. Welcome to the show, your brother C Yip. Brother C, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you, Coach B.
How you doing, man? And it was great meeting you, and then now getting an opportunity to get you on the show and feature your life lessons. Brother C, talk to us. I've introduced only certain parts of your story, but talk to us starting from your genesis point. What's your genesis point, brother?
So my point with everything, just how my past experiences could lead to somebody's hopefulness, just to help them out, to get them out of any rut that they may be in. Just from the youth that I grew up in to, you know, having both parents there for me, but at the same time, I'm thinking that they wasn't there for me. So that was a thing that I never really realized back then, because they were working 2, maybe even 3 jobs, just really just to support us, but they wasn't there. The
Yeah,
love and
yeah.
support wasn't there.
Right. So in that, let's talk through it. So born and raised here in Sacktown, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk us through that elementary school. What it is are some life lessons that you learned of being amongst all your brothers, not getting the intention and maybe some guidance that you wanted. Right. Let's talk about the beginning days. Talk about that, please.
So the beginning days, like Coach V said, I was raised up in CV Circle in the projects right there with New Havisha, right off Broadway. Living that low income life, not having the things that was that I thought that could be given to me. Um, it was just really my parents just trying to put food and put a house over us. Um, I went to Jedi Smith Elementary School. After that, went to Bear Flag, got kicked out of there, went from Bear Flag Elementary to Sutterville Elementary. And just from that point of the youth in my younger days, it was always a point of me that I thought I couldn't do better, or I couldn't have enough. So
Mm,
I always, yeah, that's when pretty much, back in the younger days, I already started shoplifting and just having always run-ins with teachers. And it's not being the class clown or nothing, but it was just one of those things that I always had something smart to say. I always had something rude to say.
right.
And other than that, I mean, I to this day, I still can't figure it out, because I was a smart kid. When I really put myself into that position and try to do good in school, I did it. But I don't know. It was one of those things that I always had run-ins with teachers. I got kicked out of school early age. From, the first time I got kicked out of school, I got expelled in 3rd grade. To this day, I still don't know why.
Right, right. So in that, what are some lessons to parents, so that parents can see the telltale signs? What would be some of the symptoms or the behaviors that you displayed that would scream that parents right now that have younger kids go, hey, hey, look out for this? What would that be? See,
So with me, it was always reaching out. I didn't know how to reach out. A lot of kids now these days, even having 3 kids now, it's always what they're doing. You got to be careful, because I think now, truthfully realizing, I was trying to reach out to have somebody in my life, because since my parents weren't there to support me, I did my homework, I did classwork, I did everything by myself.
right,
I learned how to play sports by myself. So it's one of those things. My parents wasn't there to show me. So I think I was outlashing at school, just to say, "Hey, I'm getting in trouble. Somebody help me out. I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
right here.
yeah, yeah,
I'm over here." So that was one of the things that, um if my parents wasn't immigrants, that they would know a little bit more. But their thing is always provide, and just make sure that you have food to eat, clothes on your back, and a house to live in. And
right.
that's how it was. But I mean, other than that, it's always people. I mean, it's always the kids now that's probably expressing their they're outlashing pretty much, and what it is, it could be something small, not doing their homework or whatnot, and they just, and the kids are good, they just got to do what they need to do in class, but they don't. So they're pretty much reaching out, just like, hey, I'm here. I need some attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And I call it time, affection, and attention, TAA, where I mean adults and kids, not just kids, but even more so kids, because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be valued, they want
Yes.
to know that somebody cares about them. And then those type of behaviors are usually symptoms of feeling the need for engagement, right? To feel like they're a part of something. And I call it time, affection, and attention. And I share this with my clients all the time is, the money in the millions that you're making is great, right? Or even middle class entrepreneurs that I coach. But you must be able to invest time, and not just being at practice, but
Right.
being all there,
In the
and
moment.
seeing the good, having some type of constructive criticism after practice, and then a time, affection, and attention, and figuring out the love language for your child, whether that's going out to eat, getting a happy meal or some food or something, or is it a toy or a gift, right? I just came back from Hawaii, and my daughter's like, hey, you stop bringing stuff home for us now that we're older. You used to bring us back a teddy bear that said, Eastern Washington or Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or New Orleans or Washington, D.C. Now you don't bring anything because we got too many toys. Can you bring home a t-shirt, right? So I brought home t-shirts, I brought home snacks, some of the macadamia nut chocolate, right, from Hawaii, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? So talk about that in terms of that framework. And then attention is like, put your phone down, which is a hard thing for adults and kids to do, but put your phone down and pay full attention, undivided, and give your undivided attention to your kids. Talk about that framework. Invest time, make sure you show affection, and then attention, so our kids know that they're seen, that they're heard and valued. Come on, Con. Come on, C. Is that real or not?
It's really real now, because the phone, social media, every electronic iPad, everything now these days, it just consumes us. So yeah, putting it down now, it's the hardest thing. Kids now, they're stuck on the PCs and computers, gaming and everything else, and
Yep.
to them that's life.
Right.
So yeah, to shut that off, you got to get at least an hour, 2 hours, just to connect with them. Because when you distance yourself and you just let the iPad or the the PC, the computer, the monitor and everything consume them, they really, I think they truthfully have like withdrawals, like if you try to stop drinking coffee or something. It's
Yeah.
bad now. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think psychologists calls it dopamine. It's like it's a dopamine deal where your brain shoots dopamine off, and it's a chemical within the brain where you get something you like, and there's an instant gratification from that, right? It's like a drug, right? It's like a high,
Yeah.
like likes on social media, watching stuff on Instagram and on TikTok, and so and adults are the same thing. Talk about now. So you went from elementary school, junior high, and at 16, right? Right into high school, you got into some trouble. Talk about junior high, where did you go, and then high school, and then where you got into some trouble, please. See.
Okay. So from junior high, I went to California Middle School. Um, from there, then I went to high school. I started at McClatchy High School, right next door, right there. Got
Mm-hmm.
kicked out of there. Went to Valley High School. From Valley High School, got kicked back out. So went back to McClatchy. McClatchy got kicked out, or actually, I ended up getting into the juvenile hall system and everything, and then went to El Centro High, and then um went to when they put me into a group home, I went to La Entrada continuation school, and then after that I ended up getting incarcerated for something I did about 6 months after. So it was a long journey of different schools.
Wow, that's a lot. So you're lashing out. Really, your behavior was trying to say, hey, I want to be a part of something, right?
Yes.
I want to be seen. I want to be heard. And so, can you share with us what that crime was, and then talk about? I mean, because ultimately in business and being a parent, like you think you want to do crime, and then shit gets real, and then you're like, oh shit, I just messed up here, right? But it's also the same thing with like, you think you want to be married, and then it gets real, then you're like, oh man, you feel the gravity of it, or you think you want to be a parent, and then when stuff gets real, then you're like, wow, I really didn't know the consequences, or that choices have consequences, and that decisions determine destiny, and then bang. Wow. Come on, C. Is that some real talk? Talk to us about that.
That's
And if you
real.
could share what it is that you did.
So from junior high, I end up starting just from 7th grade. Me growing up in the projects, me always hanging around with different nationalities. Because at that time, projects wasn't segregated just one or two certain nationalities. It was a whole group. So we all hung around. So at junior high, this is when I learned that I had to find myself, because that's when everybody split up. So all the friends that I had from different ethnicities, they all went to their different groups of ethnicity, to the
Mm-hmm.
gangs, to them playing sports, from everything. So I didn't know where to find myself at that time. So I dibbled and dabbled in every single group, every single gang, hung around with every single person, being cool with everybody. Um, but then I end up hanging around with a few guys, start teaching me how to steal cars. I started stealing cars and everything. Went from there. Something small. I mean, actually, it's not something small, but back then that's what I thought it was. And then it just kind of grew onto that. Like my adrenaline rush and everything was, oh, I need more. So it
Yeah.
went from just stealing cars, and then after that, I end up getting in high speed chases here and there, and then it went to like residential burglary when I got into high school. So we're skipping school and then going residential burglaries in people's houses. Then the adrenaline wasn't big enough. We started doing strong arm robberies and everything.
Wow.
So back then it was called home invasion.
Uh-huh.
So we just, pretty much kicking in doors and, you know, running into houses and everything and robbing people. And that just took off to a whole different adrenaline rush and everything. So I mean, but even before that, I went into juvenile hall, give or take about 10th grade, for stealing car, getting in a high speed chase right in Sacramento, right off, I think Martin Luther King and Franklin right there. Um, got in a high speed chase, got all the way to Broadway, crashed the car, you know, got yanked out of the vehicle. There was at least, give or take, probably 10 police cars, as I was told, 2 K9 units behind me. They let the dogs out. I didn't get out the car because I was scared. So they pretty much broke the window, smashed it, yanked me out, kind of beat me up a little, you know, slammed my head into the concrete and everything, and went to juvenile hall from there, and I did 3 months in juvenile hall for high speed chase and grand theft auto. And then got out 5 months late, or did 3 months, went to a group home, and then got on a spring break pass back then. And then the second day I was on that spring break pass, Placer County had a warrant for my arrest. So that home invasion that I did, that I went to prison for, that's what they got me later on, saying that they investigated so much and everything, and that's what they came, arrested me and everything. And that's pretty much, they try to, I had like, give or take, 25 to 30 felony counts on the list.
Wow. And then so now you're going into the system, right? And on your bio, you talked about how like everybody disappeared. So talk about really now the gravity of really feeling the reality. Because what you were doing was living in a world that was real, but it wasn't a reality. Like, man, this isn't who I am, but this is what you were now engaging in, right? 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 See,
Yes.
you were engaging in this, and you really didn't understand back then being younger. But then now shit gets real, and now you're in prison, got like all these counts, felony counts, and then your family and your friends disappear. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, right in the beginning, you know, going into the system and everything, not knowing, my parents couldn't even handle me so much that they gave up on me. They since we were low income at that time, even I remember going to court and everything, and they're just like, I can't do nothing with them. There's nothing I could do no more. So back then, I think it was like $2 or $3 a day since they were low income. They just kept me inside. They're like, don't even let them out then and everything. Because they were about to let me out and then I could go through court. They're just like, no, just keep them in. Um, you know, the first couple months, friends were there. They wrote here and there. They accepted the collect calls and everything. All of a sudden, give or take 6 months in, 8 months in, everybody disappear. All the homies and everything. Who was there? Family wasn't there. They gave up on me. I couldn't even talk to my own brothers. My parents was just like, no, don't talk to him no more. Don't accept his collect calls. So it was rough. I mean, feeling that loneliness after that now thinking about it and everything, it's the realization kicked in a lot. It soaked in so much. Like I reached out so much yelling for help already, but I got to a point that everything was uh like it was a adrenaline junkie. I was just like, if I couldn't do it and make my heart beat faster, then you know I wasn't engaging enough. So yeah, when the friends disappeared and everything, it was lonely. It was it was like suffocating me.
Mm-hmm. Did you at that time and or now feel a level of accountability and realization and awareness that you got to change? Talk about that. See.
In that moment, I didn't. I felt like I lost everything. So I think I even lashed out even more.
Yeah.
When I was in the juvenile hall system, I didn't care anymore. Like, yes, I shed tears, like, you know what? But it got to a point that like it was almost a thing like, okay, now it's me against the world now
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I I lost everything. So what is there to live for now? So like my whole thing when I was going through court and people try to tell me what to do and whatnot, I didn't care no more. After that, my sensibility, my accountability and everything, it was just like, I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you want me to
Yep,
do.
yep, yep,
It's
yep.
it's going to the wayside.
Yeah. And that where and you know better than I, but me visiting, family in prison, it really makes it to where they're really hardcore, right? Where now you really don't feel empathy, you don't feel care, concern for others. And one of the major signs of unawareness is that you now just distance yourself from everyone, right? And
Yes.
that hardens you even more. That makes you even more, according to psychology, violent. You're going to do more acts. You don't care about the outcome. You don't care what happens to you, and you have nothing to live for. Talk about that. Is that real inside?
So there's a truth to that here and there because when people lose themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because I've never had that question asked to me. So that's a really good question too. So when you feel like you lose everything, you feel like you got nothing to lose anymore.
Yeah.
Because even though I was sentenced, so when I took a no plea, no contest plead with the court system, I ended up having an 8-year bid. And to me, back then when I was 16, you telling me I'm gonna do 8 years, I was like, oh, that's a long time. I'm like, oh, I'm in there forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like literally, I was like, I'm never getting out. Like in
Yeah.
my head,
Yeah.
yeah, my whole point of view then after that, I was like, yes, you know what? It's do or die now. It's one of those statements that they say, only the strong survive.
Yeah.
That's what went through my head all the time. Like inside my heart, don't get me wrong, scared to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fa-
Yeah.
Facial expression, I couldn't show it at all. It was one of those things like I'm scared inside, but in my mind, in my facial expression, you won't see it.
Right. Right. And then so where is it in those 8 years? Talk about now what's called inside, right? One, so you everybody kind of rode their own car outside, but you really everybody rides their race car inside, big time, right? I mean,
Yes, sir.
you understand that vernacular because that's what they man. Hey, man, you whites with whites, blacks with blacks, Polynesians. Polynesians are kind of go in and out, right? But they also ride their own car. But
Yeah.
then talk about now, like it was like that on the outside, but now on the inside and talk about how you changed your thinking because now it's also what I've been told is like survival mode. You got to survive in there, right?
Yes.
And you got to bond together with other people. So like now you kind of hate everybody and hate the world, but you need other people or it ain't going to be good for you inside. Come on, it's the
Yes.
irony, right?
Yes, sir. So with that being said, like even just well, I'll just start back from juvenile hall. I seen it right off the top. So back then in the 90s going into juvenile hall, there was so many Asian gangs at that time.
Right, right.
It was so segregated, but since back then I didn't claim a gang, I knew a lot of people from different gangs in different areas that I knew one person here, one person there. I used to always try to keep them close, and it was the hardest part because it was one of those. And the only thing that I think that it helped out because I used to step in the middle. I'd be like, you know what? If you guys gonna fight over this, I'm gonna get in the middle of it. And they're like, no, we cool, we cool. And that was the only thing that I had inside of me that I always try to keep, you know, the Asian, the Polynesian, everything together because everybody had a gripe about something from
Yeah, yeah.
outside in the streets. Now going there from juvenile hall to YA now, YA was a whole different story.
So
YA
youth
was
authority, right?
youth authority, yes. So
Yep.
I think they shut it down now. So I don't think there's California Youth Authority anymore. I'm
Okay.
not for sure, but I know they're closing them all down. But going in there now was a whole different story now. That's to me, that was like a little kid's prison. But the most mind games that you could ever have, that's that will get you started and get you real for the big boy prison. But I never knew that. So in there, I still remember they gave me they told me to shower, they gave me my clothes. They said, "Hey, go walk to this dorm. This is where you're going to be staying at." So you walking in this big old area confined with like give or take, I think it was 8 different buildings, and you walk in and you just hear everybody shouting at the window. Where you from, fool? Where you? What you at? What are you? And this, and then you can't see them because they're behind the window. They're in their cells, and you're walking in the area, and you just hear everybody. And I'm just looking down, trying to walk into the building, like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, and that's where I was finding myself. And then getting in there, that was that was even worse than anything. That's another story itself. But then when you get into prison, that this is where you find, okay, so you have your whites, you have your blacks, then you have the Hispanics, and then you got the Hispanics from north and south, then you
Yeah.
got the Hispanics that are just from Mexico because they're a different segregated area, then you have others, and that's what we're called. So anything um Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Asians, Polynesians, American Indians, East Indians, everybody that didn't have that color or that gang label, they that's where you're considered an other because we're like the 6% of the prison or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
they
yeah.
say. So we we were lucky though in there in prison where I was at or where I did my last 4.5 years, we had the most others in there. Not to be proud about it, but in Folsom at that time had the most others because when I was in Jamestown prison, it wasn't like that.
Right. Yeah, when you're the smallest clique, that means you're the weakest clique,
Yes.
right? And then
So
when
you
you
gotta
have a
have
large clique, I mean, there's strength in numbers. So talk about what did you learn in there? How did you grow? How did you progress beyond just making it and surviving and not getting caught up in drama? Talk about anything that you learned in there that helped you now go from being pretty much right. All of us at 16 is immature, but really your choices also reflected that you lacked a certain level of maturity and understanding of consequences, right? But so that's like in your 16. Now you're going to the big boy prison. You're going to Folsom from Jamestown. What did you learn in there?
So learning in there, it was, don't get me wrong, I was still young at that time, still running a hothead, running amok in there. But I was lucky to have people that's been in there for a long time, doing, anywhere from 10, 15, 20 years, and then even having lifers, pretty much seeing what I was about and pretty much having the patience. And that's a big word, having the patience to come and say, hey, come here, let me talk to you. What you doing? And I think with that, with a lot of the people, the older guys that really came up to me and really took the time, because you don't hear that. You don't hear
Mm-hmm.
that on the news. You don't hear that anywhere else. And only people that experience it could be able to tell you that there's other people in there that has the patience, and they grab you to a side, and they didn't have a different agenda. They had an agenda to help you out, to really show you some knowledge and give you knowledge and try to inspire and uplift you at that same time. And I was able to run into some of them few people that was able to do it, rather than them telling me, be like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to take care of business. So it was different, but at the same time, I always thought that everybody always had an agenda for something.
Right. Right? Like, what does this guy want? Why is this guy so nice to me? Right?
Right.
Well, what does it? Does it? It's so crazy. All of the stories that I've heard, because all my cousins that came out, or all my uncles that were in and they came out, man, they're like, man, cigarettes is like money. And then there's all these other things that you could leverage for more things, right? It's like swapping and hey, you got this. Oh man, don't even let a brother have a cell phone inside. It's like
Oh
magic
no.
over there. You know what I mean? So that's just all that I've heard hearsay. But so in that, when did the light come on? When did the light come on for you?
I think the light came on. So it took a couple incidents before the light came on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
let me just give you a rundown. So back in 1998, this is when I got transferred into Folsom State Prison.
Okay.
The first 2 weeks, I I get onto the main line, which is, the main line of the prison, because the first, week and a half, they do this quarantine for you and everything. But the first 2 weeks I get out. So the big thing was, there was a rumor that all these other guys, the other car, so all the shot callers, everybody that, you know, heard about it in the Asian car, supposedly the prison that I came to, the Asians that was in that bus load getting transferred to Folsom was saying, "Oh, there's this other guy that's from a different race that's trying to be in the Asian car or the other car," which everybody knew he was a different race, and he used to gangbang in a different, you know, a
Mm-hmm.
different ethnicity group. So my he's a close brother to this day, but at that time he wasn't. So this
Mm-hmm.
Tongan brother came right up to me. I mean,
He
he
was
came up to everybody.
Tongan?
He's Tongan,
Yeah.
he, but I have so much love, because to this day we keep in contact. But this Tongan brother comes straight up to me, big, short, big old guy, and up in there's no thing that, hey, let's talk about this, let's conversate, let me ask you what happened, what was said. It's not how it goes.
Yeah.
Up in there, they just upfront and just let you know what's going on and what they want you to do about it, and that was it. There was
Yeah.
no talking about it. So he comes up to me and he's just like, hey, you came out from this bus, from this and that. I go, yeah, why, what's going on? And then he's just like, well, this is what's going on in this yard, and this is what's going to happen. So whatever you think that's happening over there doesn't come over here. So he goes, whatever happened over there and you guys doing something else, that program don't run over here. And I'm like, what's going on? I didn't know what was going on. But till I found out later on, he was talking about that specific person because I guess some other Asians were saying that, oh, he's with us and he's with us and he's down with us, which I didn't know. So when things got kind of heated, because pretty much how they let you know is just like, hey, if you don't run with the program and how we want to run it, pretty much they're saying, I'm gonna put the smash down,
Yeah, yeah.
and you about to go too. So I looked at him and I'm like, hey, brother, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what's going on, but I said, I ain't got nothing to do with it. And he goes, I don't care what it is. He goes, yeah, that's how it went. So he pretty much, he says, if I hear your name come out of anybody's mouth, he goes, I'm coming after you. And then so I had to let him know that I wasn't scared. So I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah. That you're no punk. You ain't no punk.
right.
Come
Yeah.
on.
So I let him know. I was just like, hey, like I told you, I don't know what's going on. I know that you hurt me, but I'm gonna get my licks in. And that's all was said. And I told him, I said, whatever happens, I will get my licks in so you know that you're gonna remember me.
Right.
So fast forward, give or take about a year and a half, 2 years later, we became close and everything. And we just start hanging out and everything. And then his story, when we kind of, because we like to joke around. So his story, that when he used to tell like the other homies and stuff, he'd be like, man, I love this brother. I love this brother right here. This is my Chinaman right here and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything. And then I'm like, why? What's going on? He goes, I'm gonna tell you a real story. He goes, 15 years I've been locked up. Because at that time he's already been in 15 years already. He's like, I ain't never had no Asian and no guy like you that ever stood up to me.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, and I had to think about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you remember this time in the beginning? And I go, yeah, why? And he goes, I ain't never had no person talk back to me like that. And I'm just like, I said, you don't get me wrong, I was scared, but I'll just letting you know, I'm about to get my licks in as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we became really close at that time. He was one of the guys that really put his foot forward and kind of, I guess, open up, because up in there you don't open up to people. You
Yeah,
don't,
yeah.
because that's like a weakness.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just like, for him to even say that, I was just like, whoa, all right. I was like, damn, I I I I got I earned your respect, you know. But he was older than me too. He was give or take about 10 years older than me. So I was just like, all right. And then we used to tell stories here and there and everything. And it grew from there. And then, hanging around with I mean, I kicked it with a lot of the Asians in there, but there was a selective few in our group, which, it was Usos and
Yep.
the C's and everything. We hung around as a close knit. We had a couple Vietnamese, Filipinos, everything, Chinese. So we had even though we were give or take 80 strong, there was a close of us, close knit of us that was about 10 that we always hung out and everything. And we try to uplift each other
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything. And that was the hard part, because you don't see a lot of people uplifting themselves in there, because you can't do
Hmm.
that.
Man, there's a lot of people out here in the regular world that are in prison not uplifting themselves, brother. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Yes.
So let's talk about transitioning. So you served your time, you came out, now you're married, got kids. Talk about how all that went down.
Whoa. So yeah, in how that all went down is just I ended up finding an old high school friend. And we just hung out as friends in the beginning.
Yeah, and what year did you get out? See,
So I got out in June 27th, 2002.
2002. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Because it's been 20
So
years. And then from there, talk about how you got back on your feet. Was your family back with you? Did you reach out to your family? Talk about that.
yeah, so I end up we me and the family, we started getting connected back, give or take, when I was about 3 years in. And we stayed in contact, not too much in depth of, doing too much, but they'll come visit me every once or 3 months, here and there. My brothers, I'll talk to them here and there just to see how they're doing, if they're staying out of trouble and everything, because I didn't want them to go the same path that I was going. Try to just pretty much inspire them just to be like, just stay out the way.
Yeah.
But getting home, the biggest transition for me was my family, because already I was thinking, I was like, this was the only people that was there for me when I was finally in there,
Yep.
halfway in there. And I was like, you know what? I have to earn their honor back. I have to earn the respect and everything, because I lost it all. I
Mm-hmm.
felt that, my honor, there was no honor really. So I had to come back out. Like in my mindset, I was just like, you know what? I got to do better. I got to do great. I got I got to create something that wasn't there for me. I got to use this as some kind of a pedestal for myself to be like, you know what? I am a better man. I'm a better son. So my whole thing, my drive was, you know what? Whatever it takes, whatever I have to bust down to do, work real hard, that's to just give honor back to 'em, my dad and mom. And just for my brothers, for me not being there, to kind of help them out in their trials and tribulations.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so what did you do for work? Where did you stay? How does someone come out of prison and figure things out? Like I always think it's the same path of anybody who's successful is you take it one day at a time. Nobody's going to give you shit. You got to earn everything, especially a convicted felon, right? Like
Yes.
so talk to us about how hard that was, the challenges you had to overcome.
So the challenges, it was, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard, but it wasn't too hard, because I already had the mindset that
Hmm.
I'm working for free inside, or I was working for 5 cents or 10 cents an hour inside, and I was busting my butt. So how I look at it, when I'm coming out, I'm like, if I could make minimum wage, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So luckily I was able to get a job. I worked right. The first job I got was at Lasher. It was on Florin Road, right across
Hmm.
the street from where the Florin Mall used to be. I used to work at the dealership, just pretty much washing cars. So it wasn't too hard, because I lied. Don't get me wrong. I lied on my job application and said
Right.
that I wasn't an ex-felon, because you couldn't
Yeah,
do
you
it.
got to do what you got to do, right? You got to do
Yes,
what you got
sir.
to do.
Yes. So luckily I got a job there. And from there I grew, and then I got a second job, and I didn't have no embarrassment, no shame. And my second job was delivering pizza
Yeah,
at
yeah.
20 at 25 years old. I'm just like, you know what? Let's do it. And even the pizza owner was saying, "You want to work here?"
Yeah, yeah,
And he's
yeah.
looking at me, and I'm just like, "Yeah, I need a second job, whatever it takes." And so it wasn't too bad, because at that moment and in that time, I wasn't sharing my story. I wasn't telling nobody what happened, because I was embarrassed. Like
Mhm.
I got
Mhm.
out, I'm just like, and I felt like whatever I had in there and all the people that knew me in there, so-called, I'm coming back in the real world. I'm nobody. So like to me, my name, my face doesn't mean nothing to nobody. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just another person walking down the street. So I had to learn really how just to bust my butt, because luckily, like I said, luckily my parents were there for me, and that's what helped me out. Because if I didn't have the environment
Mm.
that they gave me, I think I would have been back at the same place. Because to tell you truthfully, right when I got out, all of a sudden those friends appeared again, and the
With
first
the
thing they
same
wanted,
drama, the
same
same
drama.
negativity,
So the
right?
first thing they want to do, because they're in that same drama still, they give me a gun and they give me some dope, and they're like, "Here, try to get back on your feet." So that instance, I had to learn, like, is that easy money? Do I take it? Do I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
take it and go with it? I could make it easy, whatever, $5,000, $10,000.
Yeah.
But I had to say no, because like in my head, I was like, I'm not going back in.
Yeah,
Not
it's
for
not
nothing
worth it.
stupid.
It is
It's
not
not
worth
worth it.
it. It's not worth
Yes.
it. That's
Yes.
right.
But the peer pressure was
Mhm.
there. And that's how a lot of people fall back into that same environment, because if you don't have that environment for yourself, and it's hard, because even my family and my brothers didn't know how to give me that environment. but I had learned how to adapt and compromise in that environment that they gave to me. They didn't understand my PTSD, my paranoia and everything, but I really had to learn how to compromise. And with compromising, it's the same thing like when you're incarcerated, it's like having a cellie or cellmate, excuse me. I don't want to do that prison slang,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, but with that cellmate, you've had so many different cellmates that you got to learn to compromise. You got to learn the advantages and disadvantages of every different person, and you got to learn how to live with them.
Yeah,
And that
that's
was,
right.
yes.
Right.
So, man, it was, like I said, it was hard, but a lot of stuff. And I want to say God gave me that plan to say, hey, I'm gonna give you another chance. You're getting reborn again, and this is what I'm gonna give you. And and I'm gonna shed light on that part and say, hey, here you go. Here's a little something to start off with. I'm gonna let you grow from there. Let me see what you're all about now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So fast forward to and give us a quick story on meeting your wife, creating a family.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I don't know if you want this is our little funny story, but she said that I stalked her because I found out where she worked at. So I walk so I walk in there the third day I got out. So the third, or no, I think it was like the second day I paroled, because I didn't let nobody know that I paroled. The only person that knew that I paroled was my brother, my
Right.
youngest brother. That's the only person I told in the beginning. I didn't even tell my mom and dad. But the second day I paroled, I asked, I said, hey, can you bring me to Wells Fargo on Stockton Boulevard over there? Because that's where she worked. I walk up in there. I guess it was around closing time. So they closed the branch at 5 o'clock. I
Yeah.
guess I walk in there at like 4:50
Yeah.
and everything. And she didn't even know I was out. So I walked straight up to her.
So you knew her prior.
Yes, so we went to so we knew each other. We were friends at Valley High School. I met her in freshman year back in 1991 or so.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
So I knew her. We somewhat kept in contact and we fell off and everything, but we were just friends.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I'll just come to just say hi to her and everything and, have lunch or something. That's pretty much what it was. But, things grew on from there. But yeah, I walked into the Wells Fargo and everything, and she looked at me like, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she thought I escaped from prison. That's how she looked at me. She's like, you supposed to be here? And I'm
You went
like,
Shawshank Redemption?
right. Yeah, so she gave me that look, and then everybody even looked and like, and then she got up and like, oh my gosh. She's looking at me like, is FBI about to crack down right now and come running up in this bank? Yeah, so that's the how we met, and then we kind of kept in contact here and there, just being friends, and then things grew on from there, and then the relationship was, you know, bonded, and then give or take a year after, we end up getting married, because in my head, I was like, you know what? I want to settle down. I want, like, inside, when I always contemplated and everything and really thought, I was like, I need a family. I need somebody to show me a part of me. And so I'll pour my love to show that something's worth living. If you
Mm,
understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So I had to
mm.
find something. So when I found her, we were already friends. And then, like I said, things grew on from there. I was like, you know what? I'm all in now. I'm invested. So like I was ready to settle down right off the top. So I was about to give it my all, just like anything else. And then she was at that time too, she was somewhat ready as well. So two and two came together, and we made things happen.
Nice, nice. So how long have you been married now? Talk to us about the wife and kid, the married life. 1 minute. What you got?
So married, we got married April 6th, 2003. So a year, like I said, a year right after I got
Yeah.
out, we ended up getting married and everything. Um, had a had a kid the next year after we got married. That's my oldest. So she was born in 2004. That's I got the old she's 18 years old. We just shipped her out to college and
Where was she
everything.
going to school?
Santa Barbara.
Congrats.
Santa Barbara.
UC Santa Barbara?
No, not UC. She's just starting city right now, but then
Oh,
she's
Santa
going to
Barbara
transfer.
CC?
Yeah. So
Man,
she
anything in Santa Barbara is nice.
you want to live that beach life, you see?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. Yeah.
So and then my second, he's 14. He's a freshman in high school
Okay.
and everything. Um, he's my boy right there. Sometimes he mimics me now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't give me another past experience of myself. So I always got to watch out for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then my youngest, I got another girl, and she's in second grade.
Nice, nice. And then so of all of those things, right? So talk to us about what you do now, this community outreach. And this is the reason why I brought you on the show, is because you do a version of what I do, right?
Okay.
You do the CN version of going out and what I call empowering people and help people finding and connecting with themselves so they can become more effective and efficient, achieve their success, all of that. How's that going?
So I just really just started back up um with so what happened, I in the beginning, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just always felt like I wanted to tell people my story. I just didn't know how to.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
an old church friend of mine, or actually, I'm not gonna say old church friend of mine. So what it was a long time ex-girlfriend. It was her dad that reached out to me out of nowhere and says, "Hey, can you speak to this junior high school?" And this was at Harriet Eddy
Yeah,
middle
yeah.
school. Yeah, so the teacher over there, Miss Tussey, she had an after school program. So she asked me, "Can I speak?" I say, "Yeah, no problem." She goes, you know, I was like, "I would love to tell my story." I was like, "As long as you're willing and then the school district will let you." I was like, "I got no problem. My life is an open book." I said, "I would love to tell my story and relate to these kids because I
Yeah.
said I was once there." So I started from there and I reached out to, talking to middle school and everything, and not knowing what I was doing was making a change or trying to help change. It was just
Mm,
me just telling a story. And then after that, it just one thing's led to another. And to me, this is just God's given gift. So, and what's funny, there was a holiday party that we went to, a Christmas party, like give or take about 15, 16 years ago. And me not knowing, and this is what's surprising, you know, it was to me a well-dressed, in my opinion, okay, now a well-dressed white man comes up to me, just starts talking to me. What do you do? What do you work? And everything. And I kind of say, okay, I work at Costco and this and that, and I try to, inspire and motivate youth and adults that need to find themselves. And he looked at me, he goes, "Tell me your story." And what's so funny, I didn't know who he was.
right.
He was one of the owners of a big real estate company and everything. And I'm just talking to him, and people were coming up to him trying to get his time. And he was like, "Hold on, I need to talk to this guy." And for a successful person at that time to come and really want to know who I was, he introduced me to other people, and he was kind of putting me on a pedestal. And I was like, why is he doing this? Like in
Right.
my head, I didn't know what was going on. He even gave me, he paid for a ticket for me to go to a John Maxwell conference
Yeah.
and introduced me to him. And
Right.
I was just like, whoa, okay. And then from that, it just led on to other mentors that really wanted to see what I was about. I had probation officers, correctional officers asked me to, and that's how I started speaking into the juvenile halls. I had friends asking me to speak. They own group homes around the whole Sacramento area and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, can you speak to my kids?" No problem, I got this.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to always just share my experience and share my past, because my thing was, if I had a person like myself back then when I was younger sitting there wondering and reaching out and outlashing just to tell me what it's about and what it's not all about, the whole big, you know, you know, opinion about being the big bad boy. I wish I had that person. So to me, I was like, you know what? This is my time to give back. And from one thing led to another, like I said, people that like yourself, just hearing a little snippet of what I do and what I want to accomplish in life. It was just, it's wonderful because people always wants to cheer you on and want to help you out, but do you give them the chance to let them help you and let them
Mm,
grow from what you have and make it bigger than what it is? And I've had, going from, like I said, middle school to high schools, speaking at college, it was a criminal justice, sociology classes, and criminal punishment class at Sac State, Sac City. That was the big things.
that's awesome. So now fast forward, right? Of all these experiences, growing up in the projects off of Broadway, starting to really hang with a bunch of bad boys, from elementary school, junior high, high school, then doing some really crazy stuff, right? Like I loved it when you said, well, it's not small, but I thought it was small at the times, like stealing a car, right? Like, and then your vantage point was just really different. Your perspective was really different to going through to where you are now as a speaker, as a husband, as a person that really like I've seen you and your wife at so many events, but we never really connected, right? Your wife came up to me and was like, "Man, I know who you are. I see you around at every community event with your husband all the time. We just never connected, right?"
Yes.
And then so what take a minute because we're starting to run short here on time.
Okay.
What's your message to the world?
So my message to the world is really, don't don't take everything from the past and not be in the present. Use every single experience that you've had and change that negative into a positive.
Yeah.
Always taking the garbage out of your mind. Anything that you have inside here builds up. So with that building up in your mind, you let it out your mouth, the negativity, and then it turns into negative action. There's a
Mm,
saying that I have, it's surround positive. You got a positive mindset, positive thoughts for your positive actions. Everything that you do, it starts from up here, leads out your mouth, and then this one, it becomes the action that you can produce. So with the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in, it's everything. You always got to surround yourself with good people. There's always people that's cheering you on. There's going to be the haters and everything, but you don't got to worry about them, because how I see it too, without the haters, you ain't doing something right. So you got to change your environment. You got to have that environment that will support you, that cheer you on to have you grow. And then you only can have positive expectations in your life. With that, you got to associate yourself with a group of people that are successful than you or trying to succeed with you, because those are the
mm.
people that will cheer you on, and that's the people that won't bring you down. They will always tell you, don't give up, keep on going, put your head down, and keep on moving forward. And then never give up. Never give up. There's no failures. And then you got to get up, get out, and you got to go get it. Don't talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
You got to do it. And when you do it, you got to do it big.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's about our time, C. And so instead of getting to, the Coach V hot seat, I just love to give you just a last 30-second opportunity, just your final being on the Coach V show. And then, you're going to be broadcast from Hollywood Radio Studios on the Dash Radio app. You're going to be on Spotify for this whole hour, right? And it's going to air next week, Monday, and we're recording on a Wednesday right now here in the Elk Grove area. But what's your final just coming on the show? What would be your final? Got your message to the world. Now, what's your final?
My final saying,
Yeah.
just be grateful, be blessed in everything you have, and don't ever feel like your past experiences or your past ordeals or your mistakes, you can't grow from them. You can always grow. Just never give up. Never accept failures, and just keep on growing and keep on driving. Strive it, always striving for the finer things in life.
I love that. I love that. So thank you to everyone out there around the world that's listening in on the Dash Radio app. For those of you that are tuning in on the Facebook Live broadcast powered by Island City Media Group, and those of you that might be driving or getting on a plane somewhere around the world, listening in to the Spotify to the Coach V podcast, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And we will see you next Mana Motivation Monday. And then the final message is that C and V. We don't get on shows like this or do things like this for the sake of you just being successful and money, but really for the sake that you be your best. In doing so, you realize the best of your abilities and that everything and anything that you dream, work, and pray for can be achieved. This is how your boy C and your boy Coach V lives. All about faith and family, grateful for God's amazing grace. Until next Mountain Motivation Monday, thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. And of course, Brother Ce Yip for coming on the Coach V show and allowing us to feature his story, his success, and what he is doing today. Thank you, Brother C. And to everybody, we'll see you next Mountain Motivation Monday. From your boy C, your boy V. One love, mad respects, live it. Peace.